If you're looking for some badass, kick-ass, unique fight scenes, then Wu Assassins is for you. That's just about the only reason you will watch this series. I actually decided to start watching Wu Assassins because I am a huge fan of Iko Uwais. Those of you who don't know, Iko is actually the lead actor for The Raid and The Raid Part 2. And if you haven't watched that movie, what the hell are you doing? Watch that movie after this video. Iko is actually not just an actor, and he's not just an action star. He actually choreographs his own fight scenes. He co-choreographs it. He does have a partner and he has a team that he works with regularly. But he does it because even before becoming an actor, that was what he was doing. He was choreographing fight scenes. And he also is an actual practitioner of Pencak Silat, which is the actual martial arts that they use in The Raid Redemption, and even in Wu Assassins. So talk about authenticity. Talks about Asians in Hollywood, I feel that Iko is one of the ones that really deserves this break. He's a great actor, great martial artist. I am not going to discuss about how unique Pencak Silat is. You are going to actually see how unique the martial art is if you watch The Raid and Wu Assassins. I will dwell on the actual series. If you are looking for some badass, kick-ass, unique fight scenes, Wu Assassins is for you. And that's just about the only reason you will watch this series, unfortunately. There's just, there's nothing much in terms of story and narrative. Everything felt kind of rushed. I honestly think that they were rushing to do action scenes because they know that that's the selling point. You know, if you get Iko, then you're gonna get some great action scenes. So it felt like, so many times it felt like they were just doing one thing just so they can have an excuse to push Iko to do to do some action scenes. And it's very disappointing. The character development, the narrative development, the plot points, all of those felt rushed. Characters were transitioning from one emotion to another. They were growing, but you don't really feel the attachment. You don't really feel invested. You don't really understand the characters, and you don't feel any empathy to the characters. So when they make a decision that is supposed to change their life, you don't really care about it because you don't feel any attachment to the characters. There were not enough motivation. There's not a lot of emotions. There weren't a lot of connections that were established between the characters before they disconnect the characters either from other people or from their previous life. And so you don't feel invested. So things were happening and you don't really care that they're happening. The only thing that you will care about are the action scenes of Iko. So that's one. The relationships don't have passion. And I'm not just talking about the romantic relationships in the movie in the series because there aren't a lot. It's just the relationships between characters. There is a very important two characters that are very important in the series, and they are siblings, and they are supposed to be helping each other because one gets into trouble and then the other one is always there for that sibling. But you just don't feel the connection. They don't have a rapport. I don't think that they've gone through workshops to develop that connection between them because you just don't feel that. It feels so fake. And even the development of the character of Iko himself. There was an attempt. Prior to becoming the Wu assassin, he was just an ordinary chef and he was living his own life, minding his own business and trying to solve his own problems. And you start off right with that. There's a certain amount of investment that was already starting. But his transition from one life to another was just so sudden. And so there was no sadness in you. You don't feel any sadness. You don't feel any frustration with all the events that are happening in his life. The other thing is the explanation of the power. It's obvious that there is some sort of a superpower, and it's that power that becomes the center of the story. But you don't really understand what it's all about. There is not a lot of exploration as to where that power came from, what that is for, and where it is going. Like, historically, where it came from, they explain that, at least that part they explain. But you don't know the value of it. You don't know what is at stake when the power is taken away or when the power is used the wrong way. That power, which is supposed to be an important character as well in the story, you also don't feel any attachment to it. Again, it feels like it was just an excuse so that Iko can actually do the action scenes. He did them well. So you will not regret it. I mean, watching him do the action scenes, you're not gonna regret that. And then the other thing that bothered me a little, it wasn't really a huge thing, but it did bother me a little, is how they seem to have brushed off the race of Iko. I understand this is an attempt to go past the nationality, the race, but it was mentioned that he was Indonesian, at least half Indonesian, and that he was actually half Muslim, or at least his mother was. But then the story, this entire thing is actually a Chinese story. And so it was playing more on the other half of him. But it bothered me a little that they did not seem to have any other explanation as to how his being a Muslim plays with him being whatever the religion is that he's practicing in the series. I thought it would have been an interesting narrative point to sort of explore that, to see how his Muslim side plays with this other side of him. They also have, I think, I noticed this a lot in Hollywood. There is a tendency to over-edit some things. Iko has already proven his prowess in doing action scenes. He has already proven how great he is as a fighter, not just on screen, but off screen. So I feel like you don't have to do this, of course, and you shouldn't, but even if you just lock the camera and just actually watch Iko fight, it would be enough. Of course, you don't do that in Hollywood, but it's just that they were overdoing it. It was just too much, that the rawness of the actual martial arts that he is using in the series, you lose that. You lose that raw power and that amazement in seeing something new because it's just mostly over-edited. All in all, do I think that it is worth watching? It has, I think, 16 episodes. It's really hard to say because I'm so biased to Iko. I really like him as an actor and as an action star. I want him to be successful, and I want Hollywood to actually notice how great he is and how great their martial art is. And so if I am going to allow that part of me to take over, I'm going to say it is still worth watching. But the fact is that if it wasn't Iko, if it wasn't for the action scenes, I personally wouldn't watch the movie. And so probably I can just leave it at that. If you want to see something different, of course, you can always watch all the movies that he has done, the Redemption Part 1 and the Redemption Part 2, and all the others that came after that. You can watch that, and you would see just how great he is and just how great the martial art is. But then if you just want to support Asian actors and projects in Hollywood that are centered around Asia, go ahead and watch it.